Alright, here we have the epic set between Tycho2 versus Gamaray. This match features possibly the two best players of all time for this game. So it will be very, very interesting and informative to learn from their gameplay right here. Alright, going into the first match. I would say the only viable planet to take is the middle zero. After taking that middle zero, you want to immediately send an attack consisting of about 50 to 60 ships towards the opponent's home, while simultaneously sending ships back to defend your home. If possible, you might want to attack the opponent's 0-2, but I don't know if you have enough ships to do that. So I would just focus on the two homes. The two zeros combined do not outproduce one of the homes. So in that case, it is completely fine to disregard the zero entirely if you don't think it will help you win the game. Let's see what happens. Yeah, both players send towards the zero. Gamma captures first. However, Tycho sends fleets to capture Gamma's home first. However, Tycho was slow on his defense to defend his home. And so as a result, Gamma's ships are now attacking Tycho's home before it can be reinforced by those ships. Gamma, on the other hand, had preemptively prepared his defense to redirect early before Tycho had even sent his attack. And so as a result, Gamma's home is now being reinforced before Tycho's attack has arrived at its destination. Because of this, I predict that Tycho will lose his home because of his late defense, while Gamma manages to keep his home. You also see that Gamma has managed to capture both zeros as well. So this should be a perfect win for Gamma for game one here. It was almost a perfect game, but Gamma manages to take the win pretty cleanly in this first to 15. Going into game two, the 4 is an obvious take here, followed by the small 4 and 20. The 32 is pretty decent. It provides a tunneling path to the 4 and 20, so you might want to just take it and save yourself the pain of trying to send ships around it from your home to the middle. It doesn't look like the 34 is much bigger than the 32, and the 34 is more vulnerable to attack if you were to try to skip the 32 and go for the 34 instead. That being said, can you rush the side that takes the 32 if you don't take it? I would argue it would be tricky, possibly not. This is a very hard cluster to attack. There's only one or two planets that have clear views from the other side's attacking planets. So it would be pretty easy to predict where the opponent's ships will be going if they try to establish a float. So in that case, yes, I would take the 32 to start off with in this case. So 32, both 4s, and the 20. And then after that initial expansion, you just go for the attack. Let's see what happens. Yeah, both players go for the 32. They go for the 20. Gamma sends a fleet out early to attack Tycho's side planets. Now both players are just floating. They take the 32. Tycho lands towards Gamma's front planet, captures both mid-planets. Gamma didn't reinforce his middle in time for some reason, but yeah, Gamma was just really, really slow there. And Tycho sensed that Gamma wasn't able to reinforce middle in time, and so he managed to get those planets and get the win. Good win by Tycho2 there. And on to the third game we go. The score is now 2-0. Tycho has now established a quick lead over Gamma. Can this last? Well, we'll find out. All right, going into game 3. The 9 and 17 here are very, very big middle planets, and so I would take those immediately. The side 9 is kind of a bait. It's very out of the way, and it doesn't provide much use to the overall attack. If I was Tycho, I would only take the 9 and 17 and then prevent Gamma from taking his 17 and 9 because he took his side 9 first. Honestly, I think the side 9 just loses the game for you if you take it. You lose too much middle pressure, and you don't really have a way to get back in the game, short of your opponent misclicking or something. So I foresee a third win for Tycho here, based on his expansion alone. Yeah, Gamma tries to outproduce Tycho here, but he loses his middle, he loses his side planet. He's not getting his side planet back, and it's just over. That 9 was very, very poisonous to take. I'm sorry, the score is 2-1, not 3-0. Going into game 4. The 22... Well, you want to take the 7 and 1. The 22 provides a nice bridge between the 7 and the home. So I would argue taking it does give you an advantage here. After taking set 22, probably take the side 3 and then just go right into the attack. The 30 is too expensive, and if you already take the 22, then the 30 doesn't really provide much value. It's more of a liability. Besides, if you try to take the 30, then the opponent can just take the 34 in response and outproduce you. So yeah, just take the 22, 1, 7, and 3 and go into the attack. If I was attacking, I would try to go for the opponent's side 3, as it's very exposed and out in the open. And that would be a good way to get some quick caps off and get a good ship advantage over your opponent. Let's see if they do that. Tycho skips the 22 altogether. Can Gamma defend the 22? Why is Gamma attacking there? Gamma should not have sent that fleet out. He needs every single ship to commit to this defense right now. Sending those 8 or so ships are probably going to cost him here. The 22 is defendable, I would argue, from this distance. It has a good 40-ish prod, which means that you only need to hold it for around 20 seconds to fully get all your ships back. And I just don't see Tycho getting many caps off of Gamma, had Gamma not sent those 8 ships there. But I think Tycho has this in the bag. He's going for the split attack. He gets a cap off of one of Gamma's big planets, and he's not going to recapture in time, and it's over. Yeah, Gamma should not have sent those 8 ships out to attack there. He should have just kept them on the defense and hopefully just be solid. But that didn't happen. Tycho is now in the lead, 3-1. Can Gamma come back? Game 5 here. Take the 3, take the 29 and 21, as well as the 5. The 41 you can argue could be taken eventually, as it's pretty safe and can't really be punished outside of your opponents taking the 21 and 5. Now, a good question would be, does the 21 and 5 outproduce the 41? If it does, then taking the 41 is an automatic loss. There's no way around that. You just pretty much have to float and get lucky if you take the 41 in that case. If the 21 and 5 do not outproduce the 41, then there's a case for taking it. It'll be interesting to see if Gamma, who is one of the best expansionists in the game, opts to take the giant 41 that is next to his home. He does. Both players go for the 41. They go for the 29, the 21, and the 5. Tycho opts to take the other 41 and defend this onslaught. Oh, no onslaught. Gamma just decides to match it and establish a quick float. Now, it is interesting to note here that Gamma pretended that he wasn't going to take the 41 at all and just go for the all-out rush to try to punish Tycho's 41. That put Tycho on the defense there. He did not know that Gamma was going to match his expansion. And so Gamma used that to his advantage to get in a pre-existing float off and hovering over Tycho's planets before taking his 41. This is a pretty smart move by Gamma on Gamma's part. It was hard for Tycho to realize that Gamma was going to take his 41 in time, and so preemptively sending his ships out early would probably have resulted in Gamma not taking the 41 and instead committing to that all-out rush, which Tycho would have difficulty defending. So Tycho decided to play it safe, and as a result, he now has this massive fleet flying over his cluster. So Gamma has already established the pressure. Can he convert this into a win? Let's see. He does not get a single capture off of that massive fleet. Wow, good defense by Tycho. However, Gamma probably should have kept that fleet floating for longer. Tycho gets a second and a third cap off, but misclicks 4 ships onto that 30. That probably doesn't even matter at this point. Yeah, and Gamma is just so far behind. He basically had gotten almost 0 caps, despite sending 3 or 4 massive fleets towards Tycho's cluster. Good win by Tycho there, though, keeping pressure up and winning the game. Game 6. I would take the 4, one of the side 4s, and the 24, I guess. Well, is the 24 safe? It's hard to attack because your opponent's 24 would be in the way. Plus, if you have the 24, you have better access to one of the side 4s. You see there that Gamma has launched his fleet before Tycho has. If Gamma takes the 24 right now, he has a decent chance of holding if Tycho decides to rush it. Honestly, I think Gamma takes the 24, Tycho tries to rush it, and then maybe expand into the side 15. Does that work? It's hard to say. Let's see what either player goes for here. Gamma gets cold feet and doesn't go into the 24. He just goes for the side 4. Both players go for the opponent's home. Gamma captures first. Now let's rewind the game a bit here for a second. So Tycho's ships are going for his home. Gamma's ships are going for Tycho's home. Gamma doesn't go through the middle and goes topside on a downward path towards Tycho's home. This gives him less overall resistance for his ships. Meanwhile, Tycho's ships have to go around that giant 24, which are slowing them down. Had Tycho flown over the 29 instead, he would not have to deal with such a massive choke point for his fleet, and thus he would be able to get to Gamma's home faster. Additionally, you see here that Tycho is late on the defense to his home. He realizes too late that Gamma is going to commit to attacking his home and not go for the side 4 planet. This makes sense, as you can see that the side fours, the two side fours probably don't outproduce either one of the homes. I don't see them being more than 50 prod here. So defending the side four is pretty much a waste. In this scenario, you want to be defending your home at all costs and trying to go for the opponent's home simultaneously. So, yeah, Tycho is not late on the defense, and it cost him the home right there. Gamma anticipated that his home would be attacked, and so he preemptively sent ships to defend it. And so as a result, Tycho surrenders. He's down a home cap. Yeah, and the score is now 4-2. Gamma is making his comeback. Let's see what the 7th game turns out to be. Here, there's just way too many cheap mid planets. Taking the 32 is just an insta-loss. If you take the 32, I'm just taking the 3, 0, and 7 and the side 0 and just flat out exterminating you, steamrolling right through your middle, taking your home, and claiming my victory and my crown and moving on to the next game before you even have time to realize what just happened to you. Please don't take the 32. Both players take the 32. That is a massive misplay, but whatever. They both took it, so it's equal. Both players get a cap. Gamma manages to get a cap off of Tycho's home there. Tycho was just not ready for the onslaught of Gamma in that scenario. Gamma sent 2 or 3 redirecting fleets and totally caught Tycho off guard there. But in any case, they should not have taken that 32 at the start. Going into what I believe is game 8, take the 14, take the middle 14, and just go for the opponent's home. Or a nice trick here that a lot of Elam players like to do is to pretend to take the opponent's home, so that when your opponent tries to punish that by going for your middle 14 planets, redirect your ships to instead attack the middle 14. This is in essence the equivalent of sending only a small percentage to the opponent's 14 versus them sending a larger percentage. And so by faking out your opponent, you can bait them into attacking your 14 and forcing an unfavorable swap for them. Let's see if either player goes for it. Gamma takes the 11 and doesn't go for the 14. This is a pretty big blunder, as the 11 does not outproduce the 14. And so Tycho is now fully committed to this defense. He knows that Gamma cannot get into mid, and so all he has to do is just hold on to his 14 and his home, and the win is his. However, Gamma is a very, very good floater and is able to exploit his opponent's weaknesses to the fullest. Can he still get a cap and win the game despite being three ships ahead and at a prod disadvantage? He's trying to get something. He's stacking the fleets. Now, notice something here. If I rewind the game to, I believe, this moment, watch Gamma's ships here. Gamma sends the first fleet back, while the second fleet remains moving forward to stack. This is the classic stacking maneuver. Now, notice right here. Which planet do you think Gamma is going to attack? The easiest way to tell which planet an opponent is going to attack is to note where the center of mass of their fleet is. Pick the center point of their fleet, and whichever planet that point is closest to is that fleet's likely target. You see here that the midpoint of Gamma's fleet is closer to the front planet than it is the home. And so despite that second fleet of Gammas being pointed towards Tycho's home, that is not its intended target. Because you can see that the first fleet has already doubled back and is planning to converge on that front home with the second fleet. That second fleet's midpoint, its center of mass, is directly over Tycho's front planet. And so while the first fleet's center of mass may not be obviously closer to the first planet than the home, since the second fleet's center of mass is, you want to automatically defend that front planet immediately. Because this is what's going to happen. Gamma caps it. He tries to take the middle planet, middle 14, to compensate, but it just does not work out. Despite losing a cap there, Tycho2 manages to hold on to his 11 and capture middle and win the game. That was close, I have to admit. Gamma did everything right there, but it just wasn't enough. Maybe he should have landed sooner, you could argue, but in any case, after he landed, there wasn't really much he could do. I guess he could have maybe not taken his middle 14 and instead just try to keep building caps off of Tycho. That could have worked, but it would have been risky. But taking the middle 14 was risky anyways, so either option would have been a toss-up there. I think Gamma would have had a better shot not taking the 14 there, but it's too late to change the outcome now. Moving on to game 9. Taking I would say that the 22 is a good option here. However, those two 12s do outproduce it. Yeah, I would say the two 12s actually are the better option here. Not only does expanding on the left side steer you away from the opponent's expansion, but taking the 22 is just not worth it. It's cheaper than the two 12s, but it gets outproduced by them. So yeah, go for the left side here. If you're either player, take the 12s, potentially the 30 and the 25, as well as the 23 and 18 if your opponent decides to keep expanding. And then yeah, just go for the attack. Tycho intentionally slows down his expansion to try to get some early pressure on Gamma. Can he get caps off of this fleet, though? Gamma is ahead in expansion. He has the 18. He did capture the 25 first. Tycho gets one cap off of one of Gamma's planets there, but Gamma misclicks on the 22, Tycho's 22. That is a massive error right there, and it immediately cost him the game. Very, very unfortunate for Gamma in that situation. Tycho has now gotten his 6th win. The score is now 6-3. Sorry about that. Going into the 10th game here. Definitely take the 0 and 16 here. While the 16 may seem expensive, it's very, very far away from the opponent's expansion path and can't really be punished easily. Plus, if you take the 16, then the 4 is right there next to it, which provides a counterbalance to the 16's expense. Now, the real question is, say you're Tycho. Actually, no, say you're Gamma. If you're Gamma, do you take Tycho's 4 on the right-hand side of the screen here? This is a tricky question. If you take the 4, then you get to block and potentially punish Tycho for taking the 16. However, if you don't take the 4 and instead focus on only your side, then you don't split your forces and instead get to concentrate on only one side and potentially be faster in the long run. Plus, if you concentrate all your forces on one side, you could probably get to the opponent's home quicker. So in that case, you could argue that taking the 4 on the opponent's side is a bad idea. Now, if you let's skip forward about a second or so. You see that Tycho does decide to take the side 4. So he's going to go for the 0 and 4 here as his initial expansion here, while Gamma just goes for the 0. Now, because Tycho splits his forces at the start, taking the 16 here is actually a very, very bad option for Tycho. Very, very bad decision. That matches Gamma's expansion there, but Gamma has committed all his forces to one side. If Tycho takes the 16, then he will be behind, and he'll be behind on the left side, and Gamma can just pretty much steamroll through that 4 there and go directly into his home. And Tycho will be very, very much behind on that right side. I don't see him being quick enough to tunnel through the 0, the 16, and the 4 to get to Gamma's home before Gamma can punish the 4 and the home and get to Tycho's home first. Yeah, Tycho does not go for the 16. He realizes that he needs to attack the left side immediately. He probably sent too much to that 0 at the start. He realized that Gamma was committing to one side too late. And so as a result, he committed half of his forces to that 0. And probably should at that point just surrendered, because there wasn't much he could do. He should have committed almost all of his forces to that 4 and only one ship to the 0. And in that case, he would have been able to punish Gamma for taking that 16. Tough decision on that map there. There are a couple of different ways that could have been played. But Gamma decided to play it simple, just expand one side, and punish Tycho for being indecisive right there. In any case, the final score is 6-4, and this is the end, and this is where we'll call it the end of the first episode, between the epic set of Tycho versus Gamaray. Catch you all later.